folks, here I am again. I didn't get very many letters and emails during the week, but just keep them coming in. We'll always have room for more emails and more mail to read, so we'll be real happy to hear what you have to tell us. I'd like to start this program off with a little bit of information that's occurred, and that is there's been a comet or asteroid that's come very close to the Earth, relatively speaking, and it was at about 123,000 miles an hour, or somewhere between that and 22,000 miles an hour. So you can kind of pick it. The point is that there are comets out there that could be headed this way, and certainly some are headed this way. You may recall a movie that recently was out that a statement was made in the movie that there's only about $3 million a portion to looking for comets out there, and if that's true, that's not enough money, because there's a lot of sky out there and there's a lot of comets out there. So in order to keep our planet safe, we need to have sufficient funds to account for, at least 50% of them or more. It would seem like. You wouldn't like to be hit by a comet, would you? No. Or get a land wave that covers your community? No, you wouldn't like that. Nobody would like that. Or an ocean that's a 3-mile high wave. That would not be fun either. So, you can encourage your legislators or whatever about just tell them you don't want any comets coming this way, and you'd be really thankful if you just portion more money there when you're thinking about it there at the Congress. Yeah, that would make us feel a little bit safer. Well, I want to talk a little bit about Akashic records. You may recall that I mentioned that somewhere in the past blog, but what Akashic means is something in a etherical way. In other words, remember we've talked about the regular space that nobody sees except as a vacuum and with a few rocks in it and comets and things like that, and the etherical physics that has more to say about Earth being, or the space being full of ether. Well, Akashic record is something that is taken up by a place in this ether, and it has recorded your entire life and what it was and what it's going to be. Now that's pretty strange, isn't it? What it was and what it's going to be. What it was is easy. What it's going to be is a little more difficult. So it takes some pretty broad thinkers to get at that. Now, what do you do with Akashic records other than to say, oh, that's interesting? You can go read your Akashic records. That's AKASHIC, in case you were wondering how to spell it when you were going to look it up, which you probably are. We're going to, let me get a note here. What do you do with an Akashic record? Suppose it does have all your dirty laundry and your clean laundry. What I'm speaking of is all the things that happened in your life, maybe in a life before as well, and maybe several lives before that. And how do you find out what that was, and how do you see what is going to happen for you in a bit of time. Well, those things are all hard to talk about and hard to figure out, but there's a way to figure out what your past lives have been. Some people have done that very successfully, and a lot of people have tried very hard and haven't made it. What you have to do is you got to practice. It's like anything else. You got to practice. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, well it's done." You got to practice. You got to do the breathing. You got to sharpen your etheric self to your soul. And one of the ways to help do that is with breathing, proper breathing. I mean, we all breathe, yeah, but like 5 good deep breaths in, and count to 5 when they're in, and when you breathe them out, purse your lips so that you breathe it out slowly. Now, let me say again, that first part is that you breathe a deep breath, hold it for 5, and then breathe it out, and do it very slowly, purse it. And you'll be able to feel in a little bit of time how it strengthens you. And if you're going to be able to be, or want to be able to heal people or heal yourself, which is the hardest thing, by the way, but to be a healing person, you need to keep that level of benefit to yourself high, and you do that with the proper breathing. So there's more to that story, and I'll talk about that another time. But let's say you want to kind of figure out who you were before. Well, some people it comes easy, and other people it doesn't. It's like a person will have a dream, for instance, and say, well, was that a former life? Well, who knows, except that person. If it seemed right, it may have been. But what you have to remember is if you're going to do astral projection, is what it's called, and you're going to go places to see things before, and if you're going to discover what you were before, you have to stay sharp, and you have to do the exercises so that you can recognize those situations. I mentioned before a person by the name of Seti. Seti was an Egyptian lass and lived a couple thousand years ago, actually. And she was just happened to be in a situation where she could advise archaeologists where to put the blocks as they were rebuilding a certain temple. And it's a temple of, forgot the name, but it's the one with all the columns in the front of it, and a stairway up. So you might look in your Egyptian literature, if you have any, or a encyclopedia, and see what that is. The Egyptian history is a fascinating history, and we'll talk more about that when we get to more information about reincarnation. Now, the idea of having an etheric existence and the idea of this existence and having a notion that life was lived before and that you have to equalize. Remember the equilibrium? That if there was some things that happened that you needed to make right in a karmic way, then from a past life, you may do that in this life or the next life. Kind of complicated, isn't it? Well, it is. Maybe that's why we can't all just up and say, oh, that's our past life, and I know all about that. It's not true. It's not true. But the reincarnation is true. It's according to, I believe, a major portion of the world, or used to be a major portion of the world, they were believers in reincarnation. And so we're going to take that in depth next time. Reincarnation. I've got some good literature on it, and you may be thinking about that, and you may think about, are you going to, the dogs are barking, it must be time to leave the program. So remember, the good Lord wants you